say, so last two problems on this semester 2 final, we're going to be solving these equations with rational expressions on the left side. And this is super easy because we're using those same ideas as the last page where we're finding this common denominator. And then we're going to say, okay, we can check our answer so that way we know it's correct for sure. So again, the way that it works is like this. Let me actually write the steps. So let's say find common denominator. Then we multiply each term by common denominator. Make sure it's on the screen so that way you guys can see. And so once we get that, solve for variable. Then we check using substitution. And we're good. So again, if you're having trouble when we're solving for that variable, again, those multi-step equations, be sure to, see those other videos. I have a whole playlist on solving equations, so make sure you check those out. So on this one, for number 21, make sure it's on the screen. It is, all right. So we're gonna say, okay, this is our equation. We have 7 over x plus 3 over 2 equals 12. Excuse me. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, hey, I know my common denominator is going to be 2x. So I'm going to say, okay, I have to multiply each. Let me not go that far down. Let's do it like this. I'm going to multiply each of those terms by 2x. So multiply by 2x. And so it looks kind of like this. I have 7 over x times 2x. I have 3 over 2 times 2x. And I have 12 times 2x. Again, this is kind of how I set it up in class. That way it's easy to break down. This seems to be the part that people get messed up on. So make sure you're seeing how this works. Again, it's just like when we're simplifying those rational expressions. I have to be able to cancel out anything from the top and bottom, but they have to be the same. So just think of this as like one large fraction. So I have 7 times 2 times x in the numerator, and I just have x in the denominator. So that means I can cancel out the x's. What's left over? 2 times 7 is 14. Make sure I get my last page out. Okay. So that's going to be your first term in your new equation. 2's cancel out. There's going to be 3x, and then nothing cancels out since I don't have a denominator, so I have 24x. Again, be careful when you're doing this step, as this is seems to be the hard part. Now I have my 3 terms for my new equation. So I have 14 plus 3x equals 24x. So again, variables on both sides, be able to get rid of the lowest coefficient. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Whatever I do to one side, gotta do the other. Cancels out. On the left side I have 14, on the right side I have 21x. Always divide by the coefficient, so I'm going to divide both sides by 21. Again, I can leave it as a fraction, but I'm going to say, hey, I think x is going to be equal to, I can say 14 over 21, or I can reduce it and say, let's have 2 over 3. That way it's a little bit easier to type. So again, make sure you circle your answer. That way you remember, again, that final and SATs and stuff like that, it's gonna have that multiple choice question. So circle your answer. Way to check it is as follows. So what I'm doing is this. I have to first, so let me write these directions. So I had to define or store value into x. So this is what I'm gonna do. Again, these examples are in those notes and the actual buttons are in the notes too, but I'll show you step by step how it works. So I'm going to say, okay, I have the fraction, so I have alpha, y equals 1, have a fraction, so I have 2 over 3. I'm going to say I have to store it, so notice how it has the STO button with the arrow key next to it. Again, it's right next to the on, so I'm gonna hit that. Again, it has a little arrow, so it's saying I'm taking that 2/3 and I'm plugging it into a variable. And so I can, right next to the alpha, I'm gonna hit this, notice how it has our x, and so I have like that. You have to hit enter so that way it's stored. Hit enter, notice how it's saying, hey, now x is equal to 2 or 3. If you need to, you can check and just hit x, hit enter, and it says your value there. Okay. So now that we have that stored, I type in left side of equation. And the way this is going to work is I type it in exactly as it looks. So I have alpha y equals 1. I have a fraction, so I have 7 over x plus 3 over 2. And I'm saying, okay, I type in my left side of my original equation. Since I have this value stored in for x, my answer should come out to 12. Again, make sure you're not saying your answer is 12, but you're saying this left side of your equation should be equal to the right side, which is equal to 12. So again, notice that I'm not saying my answer is 12. I'm still saying my answer is x equals 2 over 3, but we're saying we know we can check our answer like that. So again, make sure you're using those steps for yourself. Alrighty, make sure it's still ticking. Yeah. Okay. So for number 22, it looks like this. Have your common denominator. It's going to multiply each of these terms in my equation by 2 and by x plus 1. I don't have, you can't distribute, but I don't have to because I can just leave it like that. That way it's a little bit easier to simplify. So I'm going to break it apart like so. So my first term, I have 7 over x plus 1 times 2 times x plus 1. What cancels out? The x plus 1, so this is just 14 again. And then I have, second term is 3 over 2 times 2 times x plus 1. 2's cancel out, so we have 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 1 is 3. Then we have our far right side is 4 times 2 times x plus 1. So I can say this is going to be 8x plus 8. So again, be careful when you're making that distributive property. Again, take one term at a time, and we're going to say, okay, these are going to be our 3, or this is going to be our new equation. So I have 14 plus 3x plus 3 equals 8x plus 8. And if you need to, like, kind of break this apart when you're writing it, certainly can. That way you remember, hey, it's the left side equals the right side. Be able to combine like terms, so I have this is going to be 17 plus 3x equals 8x plus 8. I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides again. I'm going to say this is 17 equals 5x plus 8. Get those constants on the other side. So this is going to be 9 equals 5x. Divide both sides by 5. And we say x is going to be equal to 9 over 5. And circle your answer. Make sure that you're claiming that that's going to be your answer. Make sure you make a new, define your value or store your value for x. So I have alpha y equals 1, 9 over 5. Make sure that's a 9. There we go, geez. 9 over 5. Stored into x. It's going to make sure you're seeing those buttons. Store into x, hit enter, value stored, type in your left side of your equation. So I have alpha y equals 1, type it in exactly as it looks, x plus 1 in the denominator. Alpha y equals 1, 3 over 2. When I hit enter, it should be equal to 4, which it is, since that was the original problem, so we know both of those answers were good. And be sure to ask questions for yourself. Make sure you're studying, and as always, super slam that subscribe button.